From the bus drivers who navigate through morning traffic to the superintendents who facilitate a vision for our educational programs, our school functions as a unit. But who lies beyond the objectives of a daily lesson plan? Who are those who organize our curriculum, our pedagogical practices, our daily after-school activities, or even our high-spirited assemblies and afternoon lunches? What places did life take them? And through what roads did they travel till they adopted the position they are in today? In this web series, we will not only delve into the educational and employment background of our staff at Warren, but we will also recognize their contributions, discover their aspirations, and unravel their individuality. For all people deserve to have their story told. My name is Rebecca Benjamin, and this is What's Your Story? So today we're meeting with Mr. Georgatsos. It's so wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for volunteering to do this hashtag What's Your Story. Basically what this is all about is that we are going to talk about the background of our staff at Warren, and this could include talking about your college major, talking about whether or not you were involved in any sort of academic projects, whether or not you were what sorts of things make you as an individual unique. So Mr. Georgatsos, he's an educator at the Alman campus. He works in film and lit. He also teaches journalism and English 3.
Well, I went to the University of Wisconsin, Madison, and I double majored. I majored in communications and English. And I can honestly tell you that when I first started at Wisconsin way back when, I never envisioned being a teacher. That was not really going to be the path that I was going to take as I went through my undergrad at Madison.
What exactly drove you to become an educator?
Well, that's a great question. In my mid-20s, I started working as a youth advisor at my church. And my parish priest came up to me one day and said, "Hey, you really loved going to youth group. We could really use a youth advisor." And I said, "Absolutely, love it." And so I spent a lot of time working with kids. Youth group was a big part of my life growing up as a teenager. And the more I spent time around kids, the more I really enjoyed it. And then my parish priest said, "Hey, we've got an opening for the basketball position. Would you like to coach basketball, coach the church team?" And I said, "Absolutely, I would love that." I played high school basketball. I played when I was younger. I played for the church. So that was really an important thing for me. And the more time I spent working with kids, it just felt like the right thing for me. And then I met Coach Steve Pappas, an old mentor of mine from Deerfield High School, and he changed my life. I met him in 1997, and I spent 5 years working with him. I was his varsity second assistant on the boys basketball program at Deerfield High School. And the more, again, I spent time working with kids, the more I coached, the more I was around it, I just loved it. And he inspired me. He basically said, "You're going to make a change in your life." He kind of gave me the courage to go get a teaching degree. And here I am, 20 some odd years later, and it was pretty awesome. Well, it all comes to film and lit, actually, the class that one of the 3 classes that I teach. When I interviewed for the job, Dr. Kearney at the time was our department chair for the English department, and I remember sitting down with her and talking about the film and literature class. It was my first year teaching here was going to be the very first year that we would offer the class to students. So she puts in front of me the textbook that our students would be using, and I look at it and I'm like, this is my textbook written by my professor from my sophomore year in college back at Wisconsin. And basically the course was going to be like an intro level film theory criticism course. And I mean, that was right up my alley. I was so excited to do that. And I felt like it was like almost meant to be honest with you. And within 30 minutes, I felt super comfortable talking to her. We talked about different aspects of filmmaking and the genres and all that kind of stuff. Then she took me to go meet Mr. Shelton, who at the time was our building kind of principal here at Alman. And he was a big-time sports guy, and I was at the time still coaching at Deerfield High School. I was not a teacher yet. I was still working in advertising and all that kind of stuff, but I was just coaching basketball. And I had a great talk with him, talked about becoming a part of this school. The athletic program here at the school has always been pretty solid, pretty outstanding. A good opportunity for me as a young, new teacher to coach and that kind of stuff. So, I just felt like it was really going to be a great fit. And I remember driving home after the interview, I actually got a phone call from my mom saying, "Hey, you just got a phone call from Warren Township High School. They left a voicemail. They're offering you a job." I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's awesome."
Wow.
So there were a few other schools that were interested in me as well, but I felt that the best fit, talking to Steve Pappas, my old mentor at Deerfield, and my other cooperating teacher, Charlotte Titcomb, who was actually an original Blue Devil. She actually started working here. They both felt that this would be a great fit for me. And 19 years later, they weren't wrong. This has been a terrific job for me. I feel, I'm really blessed to come to work every single day. I know it sounds corny, but I am super happy. I love what I teach. The kids are terrific. The topics that we cover, whether it's the film class, journalism, or American literature with English 3 juniors, it's awesome. And I'm really lucky for that and happy, until I hopefully can retire here. Yes, so I graduated from Wisconsin in 1990, and my very first job was as a production assistant. So basically a PA is someone who you just do whatever they tell you to do on a set. You are like at the bottom of the totem pole. My very first commercial, I'll never forget it. It was for an American Cancer Society shoot that we were doing. We were doing it at a middle school in the city off of Irving Park, St. Benedict's. And it was like 18-hour day. It was an 18-hour day. It was such a long day. And actually, I had told the producer, Judy Freeman at the time, I will work for free for as long as you want. I just want a chance to get my foot in the door, because it's super hard to get into that business. Because I wanted to direct. I wanted to kind of make movies. That's really kind of what I wanted to do. So I figured working my way through the commercial end of it, in advertising, could maybe get me a chance to do that. So my very first commercial that I worked on, like I said, was 18 hours. We were there like 6 in the morning until like 10 o'clock at night. I don't know how long it was. It was ridiculous. But what I learned was that they shot like 10 different commercials. They shot so many different variations of the theme that they were trying to cover, which was basically healthy eating for kids. It was all these little kids in a cafeteria trying to eat. One time I even had to go to like Jewel to get brand new bananas and apples because we were running out of stuff. So it was kind of fun. And I just worked with Judy and this other guy, John Comaneci, for like 2 years. I'd say like 5 out of 7 days of the week. We work all the time. And it was terrific, and I loved it. I learned a lot, and I got to know a lot of people, and eventually I wanted to become a director. So I was talking to Comaneci about it, and he's like, well, there's 2 ways you can go about it. You can be a cinematographer, or you can be an editor to get to that director spot. I loved to edit when I was in college. I loved putting things together, so I went that route. And so I got a job at Lakeshore Productions, a place in the city, as an apprentice editor. I worked every single day for like 5 months. I didn't get paid 1 penny. Went to work every day at 8 a.m., didn't leave until everybody else left. Sometimes it was 6 p.m., sometimes it was 10 p.m. Sometimes I spent the night there and just worked because, no matter what you kind of learn in college, it doesn't prepare you for like what is in the real world, and you kind of have to do that, at least in that business. And I remember one Christmas, whatever that year was, I don't know, 93, 94, something like that. I got a Christmas card from my boss, Mickey Mitadero, and it was like a little bonus check and new job starting January 1st. So I was the second assistant editor for a little bit, then I became the first assistant editor, and then I was my own online editor, and it was great. I edited quite a few commercials, a couple hundred, whatever it was, and got to spend a lot of fun times with that. And really loved it. And then that's when I started, like in my mid to late 20s, started working, like I was saying earlier, with the youth group and coaching with the kids at the church, that I started falling more in love with working with kids. And then I just kind of made a path. And like I said, I never would have thought back in 1990 that I would have been a teacher. I never would have thought that in a million years, but it's the best thing I ever did in my life. It's awesome.
Wow, you seem very passionate about your film and literature class. Do you have any former students that are now alumni to Warren that have emerged in the field that you brought them up in?
I do. I am super proud of all the kids that went through here. We've had quite a few kids over the last decade that have gone on and worked, but three come to mind specifically. Amy Bostrom, she was my first. Amy was just a gem. She went to the School of Cinema at USC, School of Cinema. She studied there, and she actually is an editor, and she's done great stuff. She actually edited the last Resident Evil film. She's done this great project on Netflix called The Umbrella Project. She has just done amazing, and I'm super, super proud of her. I'll never forget her senior year. She comes in, and she's like, "Mr. G, I want to make movies." And at that time, we were watching the film Citizen Kane, and the kids had to write a full film analysis of it. She wrote like a 25-page paper. I kid you not. It was unbelievable. And she took that paper, submitted that to the School of Cinema at USC, and she got in. And it is a very, very difficult school to get into. We're talking the best. Super proud of her. She's doing really well. David Wagner and Mac Eldridge both were students around the same time. David is now a cinematographer. He's doing really, really well. He's done films. He shot films down in Costa Rica, down in Puerto Rico, all over the place. Just terrific guy. And then Mac Eldridge, I would say that Mac is my pride and joy. Mac, just a terrific young man, worked really hard. Both David and Mac went to DePaul University through their digital cinema program. We've had a ton of kids, tons of kids, like 15 to 25 kids graduate from Warren that went there and are working in the business in some way, shape, or form. But Mac and Dave and Amy are the ones that are really awesome. Mac is an independent filmmaker now. He'll still work in advertising and work on commercials, but his goal is to make a movie and make movies. And I think someday, very soon, he's going to make some great films. He's got a short film out right now. Actually, CLC had their film fest just a little while ago. His short film was in that film fest. He's done commercials with Tiger Woods, with Richard Sherman, like all these great golfers. He worked for the PGA Tour. He used to do all their commercials for the PGA Tour Entertainment, which was really cool for me because he hooked me up with some golf passes and things like that all the time. But Mac Eldridge is doing great. David is doing really well, and Amy's doing great. So I'm really proud of those three specifically. So thanks for asking. So again, everything for me comes from my world of coaching. Everything that I do as a teacher, I take a lot of stuff from what I did as a coach, even from my early years. And teamwork is such an important thing in coaching, and building a team and having unity and all that. It's the same thing in the classroom. For me, I try to bring an atmosphere that everyone is comfortable. Everybody can kind of work together. They can kind of depend on each other. You don't have to be best of friends. I get that. That's not going to always happen even on a team. But you have to be able to respect, kind of honor, have like some kind of care for each other. And teams that do that are really successful. Classes that can have that, I think, are really successful as well, where everybody feels like they want to come to class, they're ready to learn, they're happy, this is a comfortable place. And I think that I've taken a lot of what I've learned in teaching, what I do in teaching from coaching, to be honest with you. Again, it's such an important aspect of who I am, and who, coaching is such a big part of my life. It has been for over 25 years. And I try to bring as much of that energy and enthusiasm into the classroom every single day.